for IBM's Central Africa business. This included 18 countries, encompassing Kenya in the east and Nigeria in the west. He also fulfilled other roles, including but not limited to general business and channel sales leader, where he was responsible for South and Central Africa in the software group division, and CEEMEASWG. My apologies, I didn't know how to pronounce the acronym. Channel sales leader, where he was located in Dubai. Upon returning to South Africa, he headed up the IBM Global Business Partner Organization for South Africa. Okay, and just to mention a few of his accomplishments, he has 100% IBM Club Achiever between 2004 and 2009, an IBM certified professional, and in INSEAD, INSEAD, certified territory coverage professional from London Business School. Ladies and gentlemen, an encouraging virtual round of applause for Mr. Asif Valley. And ladies and gentlemen, lastly, our moderator for today's session, someone who's very familiar to most of us, our EVP Rofhiwa. EVP Rofhiwa is an MBA candidate, a senior data engineer, an entrepreneur, and JCI Sandton Executive Vice President. He has over 8 years experience working in tech, in financial institutions, telecoms, mining, and the insurance industries. Rofhiwa holds a bachelor's degree in information technology and is a certified JCI trainer. He has been a member of JCI since 2014 and has served in numerous roles within the organization. Rofhiwa is constantly working on creating a platform to develop young leaders and to see sustainable impact in communities. He believes that service to humanity is the best work of life. And for this last one, again, a round of applause as I hand over to our moderator, Mr. Rofhiwa Muthivhithi.
Good morning to everyone. I'll just quickly go through the round of see who's here today. Like we said, I think something that Precious might have forgot to mention, please note that this session is being recorded. Yeah, we don't want to get in trouble in the future if you see yourself on some media platform that you didn't sign up for. So please just note that the session is being recorded, and this recording will be made public in other media platforms. Without further ado, I think just specifically around the session. So at JCI Sandton, we really strive to be at the forefront of important conversations that matter to our members and our broader community. So today's discussion really embodies the commitment, our commitment, right, as we delve into this topic that is actually shaping how business operates and the future of work. We've had several conversations around the impact of AI in businesses, the impact of AI in various spaces, several industries, and that it has already impacted as of today. AI has rapidly been transforming the business landscape, as we all know, and its implications reach far and wide, affecting how we work on a daily basis, how business operates, even the skill sets that are relevant to AI are now becoming more and more prevalent. And I think in the room we have speakers that come from different industries that will be able to touch on each what AI means to these businesses, what AI means. And I mean, some of the people that are attending today are small business owners, aspiring business owners, and these are people that should be aware of what AI means to us as young leaders in the space, what AI means to you as a corporate leader, what AI means to you as a business owner, someone who's thinking of coming up with or rising, to different heights in their respective spaces. Both our panelists bring a wealth of knowledge and insights, and I'm confident that we'll learn a great deal. from them today. And, without further ado, I think we'll just get to the conversation, and starting with our National Technology Officer from Microsoft South Africa. How does, we've had, I think 2 weeks ago, just to be specific, Microsoft launched what is now called Fabric, which is a combination of a lot of different technologies, which for me, someone in tech would be very familiar with, the likes of Databricks, the light of what was Data Factory. That itself was a journey to become what it was. And without going too much into details on tech, how does Microsoft's AI strategy help businesses, regardless of their size, in improving their operations and customer experience? Asif?
I think so, and thanks for the question, and thanks so much for the panel as well as the audience. I think it's an amazing opportunity for people to take the time to invest in the space, because, as you said, it's really an evolving space that's starting to touch everyone across the different industries. But from a strategy perspective, obviously, AI is definitely there to help businesses regardless of their size. So that's the amazing thing about it. We're really able to start to democratize AI and make it touch everyone, whereas before it was only available to a few people. So the world is definitely changing in that space. But for small or for business of any size, right, you need to really look at how you start to implement this into your operations, right? So you got to identify the business problems you want to solve. So always start with that. We often try and consume technology without having a really great understanding of the problem that we're trying to solve. So once you have a good sense of what that is, you then obviously need to move on from there, obviously determining the data that you're trying to solve your problems with, preparing the data models that you're going to be using for the AI, and then obviously building an organization-wide strategy that allows the AI to scale organically. And that's an important part, because the culture piece within the organization, you got to make sure that you have that in place as well. And then obviously doing the training and deploying of the models, and then obviously evaluating the models and the performances as you're going through. So obviously the businesses can use AI to improve their operations, more importantly, and the customer experience, more importantly, by obviously automating some of the repetitive tasks and reducing errors, taking out the kind of mundane work from valuable staff and getting them to actually focus on the more important goals of the business. Back to you. Thank you.
Amazing. So specifically on customer experience, I think to your fraternity, Simphiwe, there is a lot of changes with regards to how a lot of businesses are driving the customer centricity piece, and that's been very prevalent in the current times. And without that, businesses are literally going under. If you're not customer centric, you're literally a business that's going to not be profitable in future. And I think specifically around that, how do you see the impact of AI changing anything with regards to customer centricity? So how do we see it? How do we see its impact? How can we, even for business leaders and aspiring business leaders, how do we ensure that we are prepared enough for this impact, specifically around customer centricity, specifically around skills? And I know you're very passionate about this portion of work, Simphiwe.
Thank you very much, Rofhiwa, for the question, and good morning to our audience and panel. So with regards to artificial intelligence in particular, looking at customer centricity, it is heavily reliant on data, and therefore all businesses should prioritize some form of collecting information either through surveys or having the necessary conversations with our clients to best understand what it is. And then the beauty of artificial intelligence is its ability to then help us gain insight from what it is that our customers are telling us. A lot of decisions in the past, businesses would infer, or we would sit in a boardroom and decide this is the next product we are developing, and this is what we think. But a lot of where artificial intelligence has played a role is giving us the data of either from client experiences, and bringing it together to then say, this is what the market is saying, and we then constantly are developing more products aligned to the needs of our customers versus what we as businesses think should be the solution. The next part, with regards to also centering around clients' needs, is developing platforms where clients can interact with our businesses. So for example, in the business that I'm in, we've now got a platform, chatbots, where a client, instead of them waiting long hours for a call with the support desk, they can literally type in, this is what I'm experiencing. And as long as the prompt is in line with something that has already has been coming up in the system, they are then able to be assisted in a quicker way versus having had to wait in a line on a call. Only when it's something that is really out of the scope of the bot, if I can call it that, does a client then go on to wait for a support consultant. But it has made us more efficient and respond quite quickly to the needs of our clients. Thank you.
I like that you already mentioned the point around chatbots, because that's a big debate around financial services and chatbots, because as you all know, for you to be a financial advisor, you have to be a certified one through the necessary boards that you have to go through. And I think to you, Asif, the question around responsible AI, right? That's the big debate right now. We a couple of weeks ago, we had a debate at the bank around how do we ensure that what AI gives you. So for example, generative AI is one of the hot topics right now. Your chat GPTs and Bard and all these other platforms that are being launched on a daily basis. And responsible AI is one of the, I think you may know as well, a couple of years ago, or a few years ago, actually, Twitter launched a chatbot. Chatbot got flooded with, swear words and all other things that, don't actually add value to business. And it ended up being taken down because that's not now doing the job that they thought it would be doing. How do we ensure responsible AI? How do we ensure that these parameters that guide, to Simphiwe's point as well, there's an extent to which responses, or at least information that should be given out by these AIs, and something we should be able to control? How do we ensure that we still abide by some form of ethics and have these generative AI platforms still speaking the language we would speak as humans, and not lose that touch?
Well, let's agree that AI is creating unparalleled opportunities for businesses of every size, right, across every industry. So we've seen that some of the examples that Simphiwe has shared, and there's so many of those examples, but obviously the technology has improved, the training on these systems have improved quite significantly. But obviously we're seeing our customers obviously embracing the service, which is obviously their drive to innovation and productivity to solve obviously their critical problems as a business, right? But as you said, at the same time, there are legitimate concerns about the power of the technology and the potential for it to be used to cause harm rather than benefit. So that, I think, goes without saying. I think so there will be people that will try and use the technology for that purpose. But it's not surprising that in this context, that obviously governments around the world are already starting to look at how existing laws or regulations can be applied. Because I think so without these frameworks put in place, everything will be, there's the opportunity for people to abuse it, right? So by putting in these right guardrails for the responsible use of the AI, and obviously being able to, and not limited to the technology companies and governments, every organization out there that will create AI systems will be able to develop and implement its own governance systems. And that's why at Microsoft, obviously, we announced about, I think it's about 2 days ago, what we call our 3 AI commitments to assist customers in their responsible journey. And one is, and this is an important one because it's about sharing our learnings and developing and deploying AI responsibly as the first one. And we've been doing this for several years already. We've set up an ether committee which focuses around how we develop, how we deploy, and how we implement these type of solutions across the business, across our development environment, our engineering environment, and obviously our go-to-market environment. We're also working on creating an AI assurance program, which is going to help support customers in their journey, and then supporting, obviously, organizations as they implement their own AI systems responsibly. So those are the three areas that we believe is impactful and that can create value for organizations going forward, because this is an evolving area. And without those guardrails, I think so, we'd be missing a very important part of how we need to basically support our customers and also ourselves in how we're using AI. Because if you've seen the announcements around Copilot over the past couple of months, we've basically co-piloted across all of our products. So we ourselves are starting to use the technology at a much greater scale than what we have in the past. So it's very much real, and those guardrails are important to be put in place. Thanks.
Yeah, and to your point, right, around like business preparing for this kind of changes is it's easier for a Microsoft, a technology company, to easily adopt to this new ways of working, if I could phrase it like that. And I think specifically around like the space you are at, Simphiwe, what kind of challenges should businesses prepare for while incorporating AI into their operations, into their ways of working? We'll speak about productivity and all of that in a bit, but how do we ensure that business operations becomes more efficient as a result of AI? How do we ensure that all this, the products and technologies that are being, launched from them, likes of Microsoft, is something that is actually usable? And the conversations around people thinking AI is going to replace your jobs, AI is going to do that. That's been a long going conversations. How do we ensure, how do we make sure that businesses are prepared, to incorporate AI into their daily operations, and making them more effective as a business in terms of delivery going forward?
Thanks, Rofhiwa. And I think I'll start off with the initial point Asif made earlier around having a strategy, right, as a business. So most importantly, you need to be clear as a business, what problem are you trying to solve by the introduction of whatever AI tool you're looking to bring into your business? And then what we have learned is, rather than going from this is the problem we're solving, it might be a business-wide problem, but it's best to start as a pilot project. So maybe identifying within your organization which of the departments would be ideal. And that is basing it, as I said earlier, it's very important whenever you're introducing an AI tool, do we have data available that the AI tool will be able to use in terms of the decision-making and making us more efficient and. So you identify where you're going to start within the business, and then you phase the approach in terms of implementation, measure the success, have KPIs, run it as a proper project plan, firstly, when it comes to the implementation. And then coming back to some of the challenges that one might consider and plan around issues of governance. So one of the introduction of POPIA, for example, the privacy and security that one needs to adhere to in terms of, for example, the clients, that information that you are gathering, are you keeping it in a safe environment? Are you meeting the laws and the requirements within the jurisdictions that you're operating in? So those are some of the things that, as you are implementing AI as a business, you need to take into consideration. And lastly, but most importantly, anything that is new needs some form of change management. While some of the experiences is internally, not everyone will jump on the ship and be ready to roll with the new system. So it does then require that there is some form of change management, and even externally, because sometimes whatever you are introducing means the way that you interact with your clients will be different. The introduction of chatbots to the older generation, for example, was something that has not been well received. They wanted to speak to a warm body, whether the problem is big or small. So there's a bit of change management that needs to happen both internally and externally, just for the adoption and creating an environment where then everyone sort of takes on the introduction of AI in a positive way.
Yeah, and to your point, right? A business preparing for some use or some use case that they want to at least take through a phase where they're testing business value, right? With whatever tool they've chosen. And I know we're using the term AI loosely, but it could be just introducing Copilot into your workspace. I mean, Workstream, Office 365, and as if you can speak to this as well, is like Microsoft product, right? It's not just, it used to be just coding, but now it's literally in every product. And one question that that will come up is now, what skills should professionals and business owners develop to ready themselves for this introductions of these various tools that should effectively increase productivity, should effectively at the end of the day help them with their bottom line? Like what specifically, I think, Asif, from a technology perspective, when you roll out these implementations in different businesses, what skills should businesses be focusing on in order to ensure that these increase productivity? I mean, there should be some sort of value add for the business beyond just introduction of this is something to help you thrive. How do we ensure that people are ready to be able to use these products?
I think that's a great question and a very pertinent one if you look at the evolving or the change that we're going through, right? So trying to take it even a little back. So we're seeing people from, or we're working, as an example, I'll give an example, we're working with a youth agency, right, to actually develop content for teaching kids about AI or the youth about AI, so that when they step into the real world or into the workplace, they actually have an understanding of it, like they have an understanding of maths and science and anything else. So it has to be that natural to people, so that when you step into it, it's not something that's foreign. And I think it's a great concept, and I think it's one that's going to work well. But if you take today's professionals or today's kind of business owners, right, what are the kind of skills that you need to be developing, or what's the kind of skills you need to have? One is creativity, right, because that's really what AI does. It gives you the ability to do things that you haven't been able to do. So kind of imagining, reinventing, almost like daydreaming on what you actually want to be able to do, right? So when it comes to our ability to be able to create. The other one is obviously analytical thinking, and I think you've seen this a lot. This has been coming for a long time, right? Everything is based on data, and being able to analyze information, be able to make decisions around it, obviously, is an important part. So AI can help analyze the data and make decisions, but it's really up to the human to interpret the results and obviously make the informed decisions, right? Because computers are not going to make the decisions for you. AI is not going to make the decisions for you. You got to decide at the end of the day whether you want to go forward with it. And the next one I think is also super important is this thing called emotional intelligence, right? And AI can't replace that human empathy and emotional intelligence that we as people have. So we got to make sure that that is front and center when we're working in this space. And obviously communication skills, interpersonal communication skills, because obviously as AI becomes more prevalent in the workplace, we got to make sure that professionals are able to communicate effectively with both humans and the machines, because now you have this new communication platform or new thing you need to communicate with AI. Active learning with a growth mindset. I think this is so important. And I think so, the newer generation understands this growth mindset well, and they're going to continue to learn and continue to apply and continue to adapt to the new technologies. Leadership skills. As AI becomes more prevalent in the workplace, I think it's important for leaders to be able to both manage humans and machines effectively. And this, I think, is a skill that when you think about managing people only, you got to remember that you now have this thing called AI that you're managing as well. And then what I always find is important is diversity and cultural intelligence. So as AI is becoming more important in the workplace for the professionals, they have to keep a deeper understanding of the different cultures and perspectives that the organization is going through, that people are going through. So that's taking them on the journey with them, I think. So it's such an important part. And I kind of got a little video, if you indulge me for a moment. And I thought this one was so cool that it may make sense looking at a law firm and how lawyers are using AI as a technology, just as an example of how they're able to kind of share that. So just give me a moment, I'll just get it going.
Okay.
So Tanji, you're going up against this AI system with Nori to spot legal issues in 2 NDAs. We're rating you guys on both speed and accuracy. And because this isn't a commercial for law geeks, we need you to try your hardest to beat this computer.
On it.
Alrighty, on your marks, get set, go! We snuck a little phrase into this contract. It says, in case of any breach by the recipient of any obligations under this agreement, the recipient will pay Vice News a penalty of $15,000 per event. So we're going to see if Tanji and the AI system can find it. Poor Tanji is just still working away over here. So far, it's taken him more than double the time that it took the computer. Meanwhile, Nori and I just got a coffee. He's having a meeting right now. Pretty clear just how much time this technology saves.
Done.
So I think that gives you kind of a sense of what I was trying to share, is that obviously these new skills that we're beginning to acquire and how we apply it, it has to have business value at the end of the day. But it's definitely there for good, and it can help organizations actually do more with the little resources they have. So, I mean, those are some of the positives that come out of it. And being able to think and apply how you're going to use it in your organization is equally important. So that's where kind of part of the skills piece comes in, and I thought was maybe relevant to share. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think importantly is the learning culture for an organization, right? So I think in tech we always say that if you're a software developer in 1999 and you're coding in COBOL, you're essentially like you can't work in today's space, right? If you're working for Microsoft, you certainly would be out of business today. So I think a learning culture is one that I think very important to ensure that companies continue grow exponentially and adopt to these changes. And AI is one of them where you need to adopt in order for you to thrive in the space. And I think to you, Simphiwe, there's a big culture drive on usage of things such as generative AI. With the risk that it has right now, there's, the whole cornering into how do we ensure that our data, the whole data privacy, I think, we've had these conversations in different spaces where there's a big culture a big drive on driving culture of learning and using this tools, but at the same time, there is a business risk. And how do we breach that too? How do we ensure that, how can business owners foster the culture and at the same time be able to control that customers' data, for example, is something that is still intact, and our clients or your clients still know that my data is not sitting somewhere in a different country or in a different space that I do not know of.
Okay. Thanks, Rofhiwa. So I think it's a collaboration both from our legal experts within our organizations and operations, where we then need to, as governments put in place the privacy laws, make sure that we are implementing them in our organizations, making sure that there are custodians within the organizations who are taking care of that space, especially when it comes to privacy. What we've implemented as a business is exactly that, where the data protection laws and the way that our client data is stored is in what's it, SAS? It's in, it basically follows the principles that have been set aside. We also communicated to our customers almost in every communication that we adhere to the requirements of POPIA if it's a South African entity. And it's just a collaboration, I believe, between operations and legal and all involved in the organization to make sure we honor the commitments and the laws that have been put in place around privacy.
I think that's important, right? And you almost led to my next point, which is going to be leadership around the space. where IT leadership has been one that is, we almost always expected to leaders that will be able to drive this business. Like if I could put it in layman terms, is we want people who are innovative and who are able to take risks to lead spaces like this, where they can easily adopt, they can, see foresight of technologies and its implementations and its successes in organizations. And I think one, Asif, is a journey that you might have went through in your different roles as to where you are today, where technology leadership is important, not just for technology companies, but for non-technology companies. Even Simphiwe, I also want to hear your thoughts on this, where how do we ensure that the people that are leading these journeys are people, the right people, one, for the organization, two, they are the people that will actually enable these implementations that drive business success. And at the end of the day, business exists to create impact and make profit. That's the blunt that's what business is at the end of the day. So how do we, I think from a delivery perspective, how do we ensure that the people who are leading the spaces are people that can actually be able to implement this tools, and not just to AI, but business transformation tools, digital transformation tools? This is a conversation that's being had for quite some time, but from a technology company, Asif, how do we ensure that these are the right people that drive business value? And we can reference many big organizations, your LinkedIn, your Google, your Facebooks of our times.
I think another good question, obviously, talking about skills and development, obviously, professionals across the industries can thrive really in this environment from different areas, right? So obviously by developing the new skills that we talk about and developing the competencies that are obviously relevant to the new business environments, I think so is the one part that I think so we need to address. Now, coming back to our educational institutions, as I was referring to earlier, this is where we need to start to kind of create that change and embrace this new technologies into it. So if you think about even the example that you're using about the changes in the different industries, if you take our educational industry, and I think so Precious and I had this call or this talk earlier, was around how are educational institutions adapting to being able to use AI to train or ensure that AI is supporting the use of it. So again, even in those instances where we're talking about people that are teaching people to change and teaching people the skills, need to also understand that. So they need to be able to also leverage this technology for things like repetitive tasks, as Simphiwe said, and as I was saying earlier, you need to develop a more strategic approach to doing these things, right? So definitely professionals need to basically understand that in order to thrive in this kind of work environment that's changing, they need to be able to be more strategic about how they approach it. And obviously business leaders that are really navigating this AI workforce transition should really focus on 3 key strategies, right? And that's about rebalancing the tasks between humans and machines. So to make sure that there is that retraining the employees for new roles. And I think so we're starting to see this happen more and more, and the investment that organizations are trying to make into their existing staff, because there's so much value that they bring in going forward and helping the organization to adopt and adapt in this new space. And obviously reinventing the organization to support the new ways of working. Things with that agility that needs to come into it. So obviously, again, our leadership needs to play an important role or critical role in that part of it, being able to drive the organization towards this new way of working. And I think so that's the thing that we need to make sure that we don't get stuck in the old ways of doing things, and we can demonstrate that ability and agility to be able to change. I think so those are some of the traits and importance that we need to consider.
Yeah.
Perhaps
yeah, I actually want to hear your your thoughts as well, Simphiwe, on this, because I think it's important, the variety of the industries that we come from and the thinking from a business value perspective of how do we differentiate, how do we define, how do we ensure success.
Thanks, Rofhiwa. I just wanted to add, so in my line of business, I work a lot with auditors and accountants because we are in the space of auditing and accounting software. And what I've learned in recent times, which I think to Asif's point, tertiary institutions are also moving a lot in this direction. For example, some of the universities which are doing the accounting degree are now incorporating a lot of technology as part of the degree. So the journey to becoming an accountant today is not you being just an accountant, all knowing in the auditing, accounting, tax space, but it's more now saying some of the people within this degree will go on to champion the adoption of technology, some form of technologies in the workplace in the future. How do we then prepare them today? And I think that is one positive way in preparing the future, right, of equipping an all-rounded accountant, if I can put it that way. What we're also seeing in practice now, when technologies are being adopted in organizations, before IT used to be the last person we engage when the software is about to be implemented. But what we are seeing now is in the initial discussions where the company is seeing what the product offers and what it entails. We actually having all the stakeholders, IT is at the table. We've got the champion, if I can call it, the person who's going to be, who previously was the only user sitting at the table. And as we engage on what the software actually offers, IT is now thinking, what other mechanisms can be implemented to even make the organization more efficient? So it is definitely a collaborative effort. We can no longer as business operate in silos. Just because you are in IT doesn't mean you the person who's going to check if the implementation is correct. You are actually part and parcel of the technologies being adopted in the organization. And I think that also helps then in terms of ensuring the most efficient and effective way of implementing AI in organizations. It's a collaboration. Everyone's input is important.
Yeah, I like the point you made. So there's a phrase we use often in the bank, and is every company is a technology company, right? And what that means is business and technology, this segmentation of business and technology needs to cease to exist, because it has to be a collaborative in order to maximize business value of any tool. And it doesn't have to be AI related tools. It doesn't have to be any kind of technology implementations. It needs to be a collaborative effort between business and technology, and how do you maximize business value? And I think to your point, to you, Asif, you would have, had these conversations with a lot of businesses in the recent times, where there is a lot of effort, at least in big businesses, to bridge the gap between business and technology. And Simphiwe, you just spoke to it already about it now, where we need to ensure, at least for us, for better implementations and better value, less spend. How many POCs have been done by businesses, and at the end we spend 100 million and the technology that's been implemented means nothing, and then that has to be a write-off. And I think going forward, as you alluded to, Simphiwe, is there is a big drive to combine or sort of look at business as an entity that is a technology company, and we thrive or move forward as a collective. And to you, Asif, how do we ensure this in companies? I know you do a lot of technology implementations, and not just any products that you offer as Microsoft. How do you try and bring together business and technology and ensure that these POCs, and I'm sure you do a lot of them, POCs of products, implementations of products, launching of products, it's something that is a collaboration between business in terms of providing business value to clients, and technology, and not just bringing technology auditors to tell business, no, this is wrong, no, this is right, no, this is the correct implementations. How we bring that close together to ensure, to maximize business value or to maximize clients' value?
I think you heard some of it from Simphiwe already. So, you know, you got to really understand you got to really look at your business strategy as an organization and really understand this before you start your AI journey, right? So you got to know your goals. You know, the organization needs to really realize what they want to get from AI and how they're going to do it. So you heard about walk and don't run. So, you know, as Simphiwe was saying, start small. And then obviously, like I always say, adopt a culture of data, right? So, and I think so you probably understand as well, coming out of the banking industry, you know, companies should really focus on collecting and analyzing data that informs their strategy again. So again, another important one. And then set checkpoints. And these checkpoints should be able to evaluate and adjust the strategy as they go forward. But the important thing is it's not just an IT function, right? You need to really create cross-functional teams so that you're able to bring in leaders, data scientists, IT professionals, everybody into being able to develop what you're trying to do, as opposed to just being an IT project or you know, just a POC, to your point, because that's when it doesn't go anywhere at the end of the day. So you need business buy-in right up front, and you work the process there on. So it's definitely a partnership. And I like the observation that Simphiwe is making, is that it's the role of the IT manager, the CIO, is really moving up in the organization because it's becoming more strategic to the table, as opposed to just being something on the side that's supporting us as a business. So it's an integral part of the decision making. And I think so that's the right thing, right? It's right for the CIO to sit at that level to be able to understand the business strategy and design and plan for the business, as opposed to just executing in isolation. So I think so we're getting there fast, and we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, I think that's important, and that's been ongoing conversations around, you know, CIO being a business role rather than a technology role, because the role of a CIO is not a CTO, for example. It's not a technology officer. It's an information officer that should be able to bridge the gap between business and technology. And I just want to bring it home a bit now to South Africa, at least to our African context, where we've often been seen as, you know, way behind in terms of adopting this kind of tech, adopt even in businesses where there is several, I guess, issues that ensure or at least hinder us from adopting some of these things. I mean, the operations, we in load shedding, and I hope no one will get load shedded during this session. You know, things like that impact business operations. And from a Africa or South Africa context, how do you, you know, see the impact of AI and in the job market, you know, in businesses and business operations in general? And this is from the whole, you know, the whole South Africa context. How do we ensure, you know, or how do we even envision the impact? How do we draw as much as we can from the implementations of AI to ensure that this is not just a Microsoft win, this is not just an AdaptIT win, this is not just a big businesses win? And I think you spoke to this earlier a bit, Asif, and I just want to hear from both of you. How do we ensure that that impact is really as maximized as possible, and it's adopted as much as possible? One of the projects we're running right now as JCI Sandton is a small business training, where we take small businesses through a series of trainings to ensure that they are aware of, you know, these kind of things that could maximize their efforts in growing their businesses, could maximize their efforts in, you know, thriving as businesses. And I just want to hear from the both of you, I think, starting with Simphiwe. And what do you see as the future of AI in South Africa and Africa in terms of its impact and on business and the job market?
I don't know if I'm biased, given this is an area which I'm really passionate about, Rofhiwa, but for me, AI or just technology as a whole is such a big opportunity for our continent to leapfrog. I believe that, for example, I'll wear a hat of where I work and then my passion. We are an established software company with almost 30 years of experience. Whilst it's good, right, it also comes with legacy challenges. Whereas if I look at our continent, especially startups, small businesses. There's so many opportunities because there's no legacy, right? To Asif's point earlier, what skills do we need today in the world of AI? Creativity. So if you're an entrepreneur and you understand the context of your country or your industry, and you are busy thinking, you know what, there's this minor problem, and if only we could do whatever the idea is that you come up with, the prospects of you solving a problem on a small scale is actually possible. And the cost of you developing a technology as a startup might be more effective or less costly in comparison to a big company that has legacy issues. So for me, I really do believe that for our continent, there is technology is such an opportunity. There are so many innovation hubs or technology hubs all across the continent, which are helping startup businesses and entrepreneurs really develop and grow their businesses. So from that perspective, I really do believe this is the turnaround for our continent. Yes, we still have the challenges of load shedding and whatnot that we are experiencing, but there are snippets of opportunities that we can truly maximize. If I look back in the industry that in 2015, we were the only person in our space. We had market share, in a space of 7 years. Although they are not direct competitors, there are snippets of little, and some of them from Africa, of competitors that have entered our industry. They might not directly compete with all our products, but there's a little man in a corner who is giving us sleepless nights of how do we do it. So for me, truly, I do believe this is an opportunity for Africa to maximize and really turn around our story. I am confident that the Agenda 2063 aspirations are possible, and it takes just these steps. Us as young people going in and really identifying where can I play my part. If you are technologically inclined, use the tech hubs and really grow whatever business it is that you are aspiring to grow. Thanks, Rofhiwa.
Thanks, Simphiwe. I think that's a mouthful. Asif?
Yeah, I'm going to rather lead with a video because I think so. It says everything that Simphiwe was saying and more in a real case study. And I like to use case studies because it's so relevant. And this is a case study from our continent. It's right here in South Africa. So I think you guys are going to love this one. But let me know how it goes once you've seen it.
Healthcare in South Africa is very challenging. The biggest burden sits in the rural areas. It's a vast country. People have to travel big distances to access the correct care. How do you take a specialist out into a remote area? This is what we do at Pulukisa. Pulukisa means to heal in one of our local languages. We ended up building a cloud-enabled backpack, which tests for 10 most common diseases: HIV, tuberculosis, diabetes, heart disease. In our country, we've got a very, very high maternal mortality rate, of the worst in the world. And these are all things that are super important when you're screening a pregnant woman. The backpack can go on the back of a health worker, so you could literally knock on people's doors and screen them at their homes. The data is collected and uploaded to MySQL database in Azure. Almost immediately, the results are pushed back on Power BI and delivered to the clients, no matter where they are.
Precious came to our clinic as a patient who had a previous miscarriage, and she did not understand what's going on in her body.
On my first miscarriage, I was suffering from high blood pressure. Because of the lack of instruments, no one can help me. My child just died inside of me.
So when she came, we screened her to check all those things on a woman. To get the results will take about a week, but with the backpack, it takes just about 20 minutes.
Everywhere there are people with great ideas around the world. But what's the gathering place where these dreamers get together and have their ideas come to life? Microsoft. It's literally a place where we get to weave the tapestry of the future.
Now I'm 8 months pregnant. My child now, I'm going to call him Blessing. The new technologies is giving us a hope and a new bride that even our generation, like me, my child, will be healthy. So I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy.
Thanks. I didn't want that to be a pitch for Microsoft, but I just wanted to kind of show the impact of technology and how technology can bring a service to humanity. And the solution was so innovative that they obviously have AI algorithms running in the background to be able to do the analysis, to be able to deliver that service to the patient right there. Imagine the power of that, because as I said, we're a vast country to try and deliver everywhere. So this is using technology for good, and I thought this was a good example to be able to demonstrate. And that's a startup, by the way, as well. Pulakisa started up a couple of years ago as a person that understood the space. He came out of the medical field and he wanted to develop something. So to your point, Simphiwe, you got to really think out of the box. You really got to see what's in front of you and look at what you're trying to solve. And I think so you can do amazing things. Thank you, Rofhiwa.
I like that you actually played that video, because we have startup entrepreneurs that are actually going to watch this as part of their training as well. And I think this is just a pure example of how thinking outside the box can actually come up with solutions that, with simple technologies. I'm in tech, so I know how cheap this can be to implement. It's nothing difficult or expensive to do. And I think, and I like that you reference, I don't know if you knew, but service to humanity is our tagline. One of our taglines is JCI, and I really hope that we embody not just service to humanity through our time and the basic things that we often do as people, visiting youth centers and doing the basic community service work, but also teaching these skills, these necessary skills that, as you can see and as you explained in this video, it's a startup that came up with this with the solution to, and actually a big problem that can literally expand and become a very viable solution, not just in South Africa but in Africa. So I think that's it from me for the day. I think those were enough questions, and I really hope for those who will be rewatching this and in the different media platforms that you learn a thing or two from how AI can be an impact in the various spaces. I'll just give each of you, Simphiwe and Asif, a minute just for last few words.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Rofhiwa, and thanks, Asif. So from mine, it's to say that let's invest in lifelong learning. The one way that we are going to keep ourselves relevant as young people in the changing landscape with the introduction of artificial intelligence is to be willing to learn, regardless of the industry you are in. I often talk to my brother who's a teacher, and just how, in fact, in that industry, initially he used to think, I know we are fine. But that is one platform where we started engaging and realized there is so much that he can offer to students, even as he prepares the young people for the future. So regardless of the industry, you might not see your industry as a technology inclined industry, but stop for a moment, spend time on ChatGPT, ask, if you have to ask ChatGPT, how can I use AI in my industry? And you'll be surprised what you will learn. Keep an open mind. There is actually potential for all of us to make some form of revenue using artificial intelligence. I can go on for days, but lifelong learning, keep an open mind, and really adapt as things change. Thank you very much, Rofhiwa.
Thank you, Simphiwe. Asif?
there's very little more I can add to what Simphiwe said. I think so she touched on the most important thing, it's lifelong learning, because today it's AI, tomorrow it's something else, right? So how do you really keep up with that? It's really creating a culture of learning within yourself. And I'd like to play one more video, which I think you're going to love, because I love this video. And I think it says a lot about where we are today.
Today, right now, you have more power at your fingertips than entire generations that came before you. Think about that. That's what technology really is. It's possibility, it's adaptability, it's capability. But in the end, it's only a tool. What's a hammer without a person who swings it? It's not about what technology can do, it's about what you can do with it. You're the voice, and it's the microphone. When you're the artist, it's the paintbrush. We are living in the future we always dreamed of. We have mixed reality that changes how we see the world, and AI empowering us to change the world we see. You have more power at your fingertips than entire generations that came before you. So here's the question: what will you do with it?
Great, thanks so much, guys.
I don't even want to spoil the ending. I wish we just cut off at the end of the video. That was a great video, Asif. Thank you everyone for joining. I just want to check if there's a couple of questions before we close on the chat. I see there's one from Noel. I'll just read it. AI cannot work in isolation, and it cannot achieve much on its own. AI should be viewed as a tool or driver that is utilized to solve problems. We need to identify problems within our community and see how we tackle complex problems in collaboration with AI. Definitely agree, Noel. That's a great commentary, and I think they're both, because I've already alluded to it, to say that we need to be adaptive in the way we work, and it shouldn't be. And I think to the points, various aspects that you already spoke to earlier, that AI shouldn't be viewed as a thing that's like, AI is just another tech. There's going to be something else different tomorrow. How do we maximize its value today to ensure that it's beneficial for all of us? And I think there was another question as well from Precious. How can companies prepare their employees for adoption and application of AI? I think there was a direct question to Asif as well on this. I think it was before the question was answered, I'm assuming. Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining. I think this was a fruitful session, and I hope those who are watching online, both Asif and Simphiwe will leave their contact details. They'll be on the video that will be published if you need to engage with them further in their respective businesses. I think that's it from me today. And let me just see how many people. Oh, yeah. That's it from us today, and we thank you for joining us on this webinar, and we hope to see you on the next one. A good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you. Goodbye.